Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video we have a complete blank and double game week guide with a little bit of chip strategy discussion in there as well. We have tons of blanks and doubles coming up both in the near and long term future, and I want to help you try and navigate that as well as possible whether you're using chips or not. If you get any use from today's video, please do drop a like, make sure to subscribe as well, but without further ado, let's get into it. So, of course, we're going into game week 24 now, but that is just a normal single game week. The next three blanks and doubles that we have are blank/double 25. We've got double game week 27, which was very recently announced, and then blank game week 28. We do also have double game week 29, but we have slightly less information about that. So I'm going to focus now on the next three blanks and doubles. Once we've done that, I'll then look at all of the blanks and doubles together and we'll discuss some chip strategy. So the next blank/double is 25, and it is the only blank and double game week that we've got in the near future, potentially across the entire season. So there are 4 teams that are doubling and 4 teams that are blanking. Chip strategy-wise, you could play a free hit in this, but as we'll discuss a bit later, I think there are so many other opportunities potentially to use your free hit in unison with your wildcard to help you navigate other blanks and doubles that might be a little bit trickier, because I think for most of us, we'll be in an okay position for 25. But if you are really struggling and you think you're going to have to take various hits and sacrifice your team for 25, I suppose you could play it this week. But the 4 teams that are blanking are Manchester United, Newcastle, Brentford and Brighton, as you can see at the bottom of your screen. And then Arsenal, Everton, Liverpool and Wolves are the 4 teams that will be doubling. Arsenal's double in particular looks absolutely brilliant. This is why we've been saying for a while now, you need to get on the best Arsenal triple up that you can. I would argue that for game week 25, an Arsenal captain is probably going to be the one you'll go for. And probably because of penalties, it's likely to be Saka. Could be Nketiah if Jesus isn't back. I suppose you could take a punt on someone like Ødegaard if not. The other captain that you might want to go for, and I know a lot of people would disagree with this, I do like Liverpool's double as well against Crystal Palace and Wolves. So you could even captain someone like Salah, like Darwin if you want to. Obviously, Liverpool have a lot of players returning from injury. If they perform well in game week 24, let's say Salah gets a goal, Darwin gets a goal, I think there will be a few people that will go into game week 25 with a Liverpool captain. But likely the best option is probably going to be someone like a Bukayo Saka or an Nketiah. And then you've got Everton and Wolves. The reason I love Everton and Wolves isn't necessarily because I think they have the best double here. It's because they also are probably going to play in 25, in game week 28, which we'll discuss. Everton definitely playing in game week 28. Wolves have a chance of playing in 28. So I like them for that reason too. Everton are also confirmed to play in blank game week 32. So Everton are a really nice option, very, very long term. If you've already played your wildcard or you're playing your wildcard a little bit later, Wolves maybe not as great, but Wolves are very good for the next few. So obviously Wolves have a good fixture in 24, 25, and I believe 26 as well. And they might cover you for 28. So Wolves could be really nice for that reason. So this is the first blank and double we've got coming up. Obviously, if you already own players from Manchester United, Newcastle, Brentford, Brighton, and you're not playing your free hit in 25, you need to start to sell some of those players from those 4 teams and then start to probably bring in players from, I would say, Arsenal, Liverpool, and then maybe some cheaper defenders from Everton and Wolves. So that's 25. Let's move on to 27. Game week 27 is a little bit more straightforward because there are no blanks, but there are 4 teams doubling once again. It's interesting because 2 of the teams that blank in 25 then double in 27. And this is where you can immediately see that it's going to be tricky to navigate some of the upcoming weeks without taking hits, sacrificing a specific week, or potentially playing a wildcard or free hit. So in 27, Brentford and Brighton both double, but like I said, they both blank in 25. The thing is, they're very nice doubles. So for Brentford, it's Everton away and Southampton away, and then Brighton, it's Leeds away and Crystal Palace at home. So the likes of Matoma, March, Estepinian from Brighton, and then maybe someone like Tony and me from Brentford could all be really nice options. But if you're not free hitting in 25 and you don't want to sacrifice that too much, you probably would have had to just sell a lot of those players anyway. So it becomes tricky, therefore. I think Southampton and Palace, if you already own players from them or you really need an extra option, I don't dislike them, especially Palace, I think, could be a nice option because they play in 28 and they might play in 32. Maybe less so Southampton. And again, the doubles aren't that great anyway. So really, I would be probably targeting players from Brentford and Brighton. It's just how you try and navigate 25 and 27. And then as we'll see coming into game week 28, Brighton are almost definitely going to blank and Brentford might blank. So what you've got with Brentford and Brighton is a blank in 25, a double in 27, and then potentially a blank in 28. So it's how you navigate all of that. But this is one of the more recent double game week announcements we've had. And this in particular has changed my strategy. We'll sort of discuss it throughout the video. But Brentford and Brighton, if you can get around game week 28, they double in 27. They'll probably double in 29. Brighton will definitely double in 29. And then they have really nice fixtures in and around those doubles as well. So if you can maybe wildcard in 27, load up on Brentford and Brighton players, free hit in game week 28, which is the blank game, which we'll discuss in a second, when you'll be missing your Brentford and Brighton players, and then you'll have them back for 29 onwards. So I now think, all of a sudden, with this double announcement, that a wildcard in game week 27 could be a decent strategy. But this is Game Week 27. Let's do Game Week 28, and then we'll look at all of the blanks and doubles in their entirety. So Game Week 8 is a little bit more complicated because we don't have all of the information yet, and we probably won't get that until, I think, just before the Game Week 26 deadline we'll potentially have that. Probably not before Game Week 25 deadline, sadly, but we do know some of the information. And I should say at this point, massive shout out to Ben Crane over on Twitter. You can see the source there, at Ben Crane, double L. Go follow him over on Twitter. He is the reason that we know all of this information. There are other people out there like James from Planet FPL and Lego Marnie. There are other people that look at these, but Ben just simplifies it in such a way that it makes it so easy for us as content creators to then give you the information. So massive shout out to Ben. But we currently have 8 teams that are guaranteed to be playing in Game Week 28. The rest of the 12 teams, we don't know if they'll be blanking, and it looks like at least 8 to 10 of those will be. So I think at the moment we're predicting 5 fixtures and 10 teams to be blanks, and then 5 fixtures and 10 teams to be going ahead. So half of the teams will be blanking. As you can see by either Ben's code there or by the thing below that I've created to try and simplify it even further, the 8 teams that have a guaranteed fixture in Game Week 28 are as follows. Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Everton, Newcastle, and Forest. So those are the 8 teams with a guaranteed fixture. Looking at which of those teams might be worth loading up on soon or now, some of those teams obviously also play in 25, and I think it's everyone apart from Newcastle will play in Game Week 25. So if you want to load up now on Arsenal players, Palace players, who obviously also double in 27 as well. You've got Aston Villa in there as well, who play in 25 and 28 with some decent fixtures. Everton double in 25 and play in 28. These are some of the teams that you might load up on. And Chelsea as well seems to be a team that are improving defensively, maybe still struggling to click in the attack. Maybe someone like a João Felix could be a nice pump because they, again, play in 25 and 28. So the teams with a guaranteed fixture, if you are looking to make a longer-term transfer, these may be the players and teams that you want to start loading up on now. But again, Arsenal is so critical, I think, to have the best triple up. Of course, if you are planning on wildcarding in Game Week 27, then this might change your strategy slightly because maybe you're just looking at Game Week 25 and 27, and you're not even 27, just Game Week 25 in the lead up to 27, and you don't have to worry about Game Week 27 and Game Week 28. But if you are maybe thinking about keeping your wildcard, these teams will be worth loading up on. The teams that are very likely to blank at the moment with above 70% chance, you can see the likes of Man United, Man City and Brighton at a 92% chance, are Brighton, Man United, City, West Ham, Southampton, Brentford and Leicester. Now, Brentford and Leicester have the smallest chance at 70%. So there is a chance, the 30% chance-ish, that Brentford and Leicester will have a fixture in Game Week 28. But we'll go on the basis that they potentially won't. And then obviously we've got Wolves, Leeds, Liverpool and Fulham. These are the 4 teams that have a small chance of a blank. It really depends on what happens between Fulham and Leeds in the FA Cup. So if Fulham beat Leeds, then Liverpool versus Fulham will be a blank game week. And if Leeds beat Fulham, then Wolves versus Leeds will be a blank week. So essentially not all of those 4 teams that have a chance for blank will be a blank game week. Hopefully that's clear. But Wolves, Leeds, Liverpool and Fulham, we're yet to know. And it's pretty difficult to try and predict that game. Obviously, if you have a strong prediction on whether Leeds will beat Fulham, then you can start to lean in that direction there. But I think the key thing here is looking at those teams that are very likely to blank, looking at the teams which have a guaranteed fixture. And at the moment, it is probably safe to not, unless you are planning on free hitting in 28, which you might be, it's probably safe to not be loading up on the teams that are likely to blank, such as United, Brighton, Man City, and then probably start to load up on the teams that we have a guaranteed fixture with, especially if they also have a fixture in 25. This is why I said it's so tricky, though, because you've got Brentford and Brighton in here again, that blank in 25, double in 27, blank in 28, and then may well double in 29. You've got Manchester United as a team that are likely to blank in both 25 and 28, so do you start to load them off? And then as you can see here, you've got Newcastle, who will be blanking in 25, but will be playing in Game Week 28 with a decent fixture there against Nottingham Forest, and then also doubling in 29. So you really do need to start to think about and develop a strategy, because you've got blanks and doubles almost like back-to-back week on week, and often the teams that blank one week will double the next. So it's not going to be a case where you can just kind of wing it and hope your team works out. You are going to have a little bit of a think about it. So hopefully that was helpful. If you need any of this cleared up, feel free. Like I said, do go over and follow Ben Krellin. He's tweeting about this all the time. It's very helpful. But with now a little bit of information around 25, 27 and 28, let's now take a look at all of the upcoming blanks and doubles across the remainder of the season, and then start to think about where we might be putting our chips and how we can navigate them all together. So here are all of the upcoming blanks and doubles that we currently know about. There could be a further 1 or 2 small double game weeks where extra fixtures get added in, potentially, for example, game week 31, game week 35, but we won't know that yet, and they will be small doubles. There probably won't be any further blanks unless anything crazy happens. So this is the information that we have. It's unlikely to really change now. So we've spoken about double/blank game week 25. We know about that. Double game week 27 and blank game week 28. We've just covered those 3 in detail. We've then got double game week 29, which will be the biggest double game week of the season, Ben Crellin is predicting 10 plus teams to be doubling. So at least half of the teams will double in Game Week 29. And as you can see here, we will find out about Game Week 29 probably before the Game Week 27 deadline, maybe just after, and therefore before the Game Week 28 deadline. So we're not going to find out exactly which teams double in 29 until only a couple of weeks before it. We will have a bit of an idea, and we already have a bit of an idea about the teams that will double. For example, like I said, Manchester United and Newcastle look like teams that are likely to double, but we won't know that for certain. And then even blank Game Week 28, we're unlikely to find out exactly which teams will be blanking before Game Week 20 until up to the 26th deadline. I think it's a couple of days before the Game Week 26 deadline. So it's not like we're going to find out this information well in advance. And it's why now I'm hypothesizing a lot and discussing which teams are likely to blank and which teams are likely to play. You might say, why not just wait? This is why we can't exactly just always wait for this information, because it sometimes comes quite late. After double Game Week 29, we'll then probably have a single Game Week 30 and single 31. But like I said, there's a small chance of a small double in one of those. And then we have blank Game Week 32, which is likely to be the second biggest blank of the season after Game Week 28. And we're looking at probably 4 to 8 teams blanking here. This information we will find out a little bit in advance. We're likely to find this out a couple of days before the Game Week 28 deadline, at the very latest before the Game Week 29 deadline. So for blank Game Week 32, potentially, if you're looking to wildcard in 28 or 29, you should have the information around which teams will blank in 32, which will be very useful for you. After blank Game Week 32, we've then got double Game Week 34. That is a big double game week. It's probably looking like the second biggest double game week of the season, and we're going to have around 8 plus teams doubling here. We'll find out this information, hopefully before the Game Week 29 deadline, because I know a lot of people will be looking to wildcard in Game Week 29. And if you are, you'll know which teams to load up on for double Game Week 34, which could be very useful. And then we've got double Game Week 37, which is likely to be a slightly smaller double, but we're probably still looking at 6 plus teams doubling. We don't yet know what date we'll find that out, but it will be probably post Game Week 34 that we'll find out that information. So this is it. This is the upcoming blank and double schedule. I think you've got 2 strategies for approaching this, because we've only got 1 free hit. We've only got 1 wildcard, and then you might have a bench boost or triple captain. Some of you watching this might not have a free hit or wildcard. You might not have either. So there are 2 things you can do here. I think you can play some of your chips early, and you look at this sort of Game Week 35, 27, 28, and 29 period, up to double Game Week 29, and you look at that and say, there are 4 blanks and doubles coming up. Let me try and build my team and navigate and really attack the upcoming 4. And then for Game Week 32, 34, and 37, hopefully my team will be in an okay way. We'll have a bit of information to try and build our team, and we'll have free transfers to deal with it. So I think that's the first strategy. Then you've got the second strategy, which was kind of the way that I was looking at dealing with it originally, which is 29 you can maybe deal with via a free hit. And then you use your bench boost and wildcard to deal with 32, 34, and 37. So you almost play the long game. Delayed gratification, you wait, and then you play your chips later on in the season. So I feel like that double Game Week 29 is kind of the split between, do you attack these early blanks and doubles, or do you deal with the later ones? It's very difficult to deal with both effectively with the number of chips we have. There are just too many doubles and blanks. It might depend on your current team. Your current team might be really well set up for double Game Week 27. You might have triple Brighton, triple Brentford, and a couple of other players. Like you might have 1 Palace, 1 Southampton. And all of a sudden you think, well, I'm not going to play my wildcard in 27 because my team's looking perfect. Maybe your team's looking rough for 25, so you have to free hit. So it may be very dependent on your team and the amount of chips you have left. I'm currently thinking, actually, I might change my strategy. Like I said, my strategy was probably a second half of the season wildcard around Game Week 33. I'm now thinking, could you play that wildcard in 27, allow you to attack 25 if you want to, dead end into 26, 27, which basically means build your team with no long term in mind up to 27, wildcard in 27, you can free hit in 28 to deal with that blank, and then your team looks good for 29 onwards because the sort of players you would own from Brentford, Brighton, United, Newcastle look really good for the remainder of the season. So these are the things I have in mind, but this is the upcoming schedule. Let's now take a look at 4 potential chip strategies that will allow you to deal with these upcoming blanks and doubles. So I'm not going to discuss this in too much detail because I've started discussing it in the previous sections and we spoke about this a few weeks ago, but there is an added strategy here. So strategy 1 has always been my favorite since we found out roughly when the blanks and doubles would be. That is to free hit in the biggest double game week of the season, build the perfect team for the biggest double in 29. You then wildcard in 33 and bench boost in 34. The reason I think this is now maybe not the best, or it's not so clearly the best for me, is because we now have double game week 27. I don't own a single Brighton or a single Brentford player. And I know you don't have to load up on these teams, but these are 2 teams that have been performing very well with a very nice double and some really good options. I can't bring them in yet because they blank in 25. So I'm only going to have a transfer in 26 and a transfer in 27 to try and deal with a really nice double. Then you've got blank game week 28, which if I start bringing in Brentford and Brighton players, I then struggle to deal with 28. Yes, you then have really good chips for the back end of the season, but I feel like I'm really sacrificing my team between game week 24 and game week 28. You then have a similar strategy where you just basically flip the wildcard and the free hit, where rather than free hitting them wildcarding, you wildcard and then free hit. That is strategy 2. I don't mind that, but I feel like you still got the similar issue of having to try and deal with the earlier blanks and doubles. You've then got strategy 3, which is actually to free hit in 28. So you still deal with blank game 28s. So you almost dead end into 27. You bring in your Brighton, you bring in your Brentford players. You maybe take a hit, really attack that double game at 27. Then you can free hit out of that and then wildcard in 29. The thing that I don't necessarily like about strategy 3 is if you are kind of dead ending into 27, i.e. buying players that suit 27, they probably will be good long term. So you might not necessarily need the wildcard in game week 29. You might actually be able to delay that wildcard to like 32, 33. So maybe free hit in 28, save the wildcard. You might not need it in 29 and just use it whenever your team doesn't look great. And then again, you can bench boost at the end of the season if you have it. Strategy 4 is the new one that I discussed, where you actually wildcard in 27. Bring in Brentford and Brighton players, Man United, Newcastle. We'll discuss some of the other teams. Obviously, you can still load up on Arsenal players if you want to. Players that will look good, not only for double game week 29, because then you wouldn't be free hitting in 29. So not only look good for the best upcoming big double, but also post game week 29 as well, with maybe a bit of an eye on blank game week 32, and then you just play your bench boost in a week that it looks good. Double game week 34, double game week 37, in a single game week if you want to. The bench boost is less of a priority in this one. You're really targeting the best times to wildcard and free hit. Usually I don't like free hitting after a wildcard. So wildcard 27 then free hit 28, I often don't like. But because game week 28 is so different to 27 and 29, the teams that do well, have good fixtures in 27, 29 and beyond, do not have in 28. It feels like a nice strategy for me to do the wildcard in 27, change my team for 28, get a really nice blank game week team, and then have a good team long term. What I don't like about this strategy is I don't think that 28 is a great week to free hit looking at the fixtures. It is because it allows you to get 11 decent players. But when I look at the fixtures, I don't know who I would want to own. There aren't many fixtures to target. Because the likes of Manchester United, Man City, etc. are blanking, we don't have all of the best teams in the league to load up on. We've already got 3 Arsenal players. You might say we could load up on Chelsea players, but a lot of us have Chelsea players anyway. And Chelsea are playing Everton. If Everton continue to improve under Dyche, then all of a sudden that doesn't look like a great fixture. So I actually look at that week and I think, yes, it's good to play the free hit to get 11 players out, but it's not necessarily got tons of fixtures that I'd want to target. So that's the only thing putting me off strategy 4 at the moment. So for me, it's probably strategy 1, which is my original plan, or strategy 4. I just feel like my team is not set up well enough now to get through to game week 29 with my free hit and then to 33 with the wildcard. I don't think my current team can see that through. And I don't think I can build towards 27 with 25 getting in the way. And again, it's not me giving too much value or too much respect to game week 25. I know I could sacrifice my team, but it makes no sense for me to start loading up on Brighton, Brentford players when they've got a blank in 25. Because all I'm doing is making my team stronger for 27, but sacrificing 25. So I've got the same issue there. So I think at the moment, if you were to push me, strategy 4 would be the way I'm going. I'll be very interested. If you've thought about this at all, let me know what you're doing down below in the comments. I guess you don't need to worry too much about it like this week in 24. But going into 25, when you use your transfers, you need to start thinking about what is your plan for the upcoming weeks. Because if you're not going to free hit in 25, you obviously need to get a decent team out with some of the players that double, get rid of the players that blank. But you also need to have an eye on 27 if you're not free hitting or wildcarding there, and 28 too. So you need to start thinking about it slowly. So maybe just sit down for half an hour with an Excel spreadsheet or a piece of paper and a pen, and start thinking about what you want your strategy to be. Don't just copy me blindly, because this strategy isn't definitely the best, but at the moment, I'm leaning towards 4. So guys, there you have it. That is my sort of complete blank and double game week guide with a little bit of chip strategy discussion in there as well. I really do hope this video has been helpful for you. I love this time of the season. I love the blanks and doubles because it requires you to really strategize, and it's not just a matter of rocking up and hoping your team does well. And this is where I feel like if you are an engaged manager and you watch these videos and you stick with the content, I do feel like you will get ahead. And this is the time that you can make up those deficits in your ranking in your mini league. So hopefully this has been helpful. If it has been helpful, please do drop a like on the video. Let's aim for 2,000 likes on this video. Please do comment down below. Let me know what your current strategy is, how you plan on navigating the upcoming blanks and doubles. Make sure to subscribe as well. We are on the road to 70,000 subscribers. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.